Hello, and welcome to Hire Results, where business, workforce, and talent intersect. I'm Melodie Reagan, CEO of Eye Workforce, and your host. And today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm going to be sharing some recruiting techniques and tools. Today in the United States, we're facing a job market where we have 3.9% unemployment. In the state of Colorado, in July, there was actually 2.8% unemployment. And remember way back when we were talking about economics, that a healthy market has unemployment at 5%. What that means today is that employers are having more difficulties with finding talent. And on top of that, what is making it even more complex is as our roles in corporations and businesses are changing, having talent where they're keeping up with some of the changing skill sets, finding people who have the right experience, having the right certifications is also becoming even more complex. So I'm going to jump in and we're just going to go through a couple of trends and what's changing with some of the tools in recruiting. All right, so where do we start? We start with a recruiting funnel. We all know the funnel. We have the top of funnel is where we are wooing candidates. And to do that, what's important is our branding, our techniques for finding talent. We use sourcing. Social recruiting is becoming ever more important. And how we bring candidates or potential talent into our CRM, which is our relationship management system, how we're taking care of those candidates and nurturing them as we have jobs so that we can consider those candidates. And we nurture them in a variety of different ways, and we also recruit in both an active and a passive way. Now, once we have a job, we look for those candidates to apply, and we also have to do qualifying. We do qualifying interviews, and we also use other tools, assessments, etc., for qualifying candidates and doing our evaluations. We make our selections, we make our offers, and then after we have that candidate and we're bringing them on board, we also pay attention to their first 90 days to make sure that we're setting that candidate up for success because it really matters. All right, so let's jump in. Recruitment funnel, let's look at the bottom of the funnel for a second. So we've nurtured people in. What happens is we start narrowing the pool in the bottom of the funnel. We use electronic means. We will scan in resumes. Hopefully they're already digital. We do profiles and assessments. And when we are interviewing, we're qualifying and assessing for fit. Classically, we're doing phone interviewing. We're now doing video, and we also do in-person. And I will tell you that we are doing more phone and video screens up front. We want to pay attention to our time and make sure that we're being efficient with it. We're also doing more and more electronic tools for assessing candidates. In some instances, I have clients where we put an assessment at the very beginning, have the person when they're applying take that assessment so we can qualify and not consume more time for the candidate and for us. And one of the things that's really important is we're looking for a fit not just for the company, but for the candidate. We know that candidates that are in right fit jobs do better work and have greater joy in their lives, and we get greater productivity. So it's a win-win for both the candidate and the employer to have that good fit. Another thing that is really popular and meaningful is behavioral interviewing. And what is behavioral interviewing? Instead of just asking somebody if they have a skill, what you do is you ask them to demonstrate that skill, because what we've learned is past performance is the greatest predictor of future performance. So what's behavioral interviewing? Instead of saying, do you know how to use Excel? You might say to somebody, explain to me how you would set up a cash flow statement using Excel so that they get to share with you the process that they go through. Another behavioral interviewing question is, tell me about a time that maybe you had a conflict with a team member and how you resolved that conflict and what the outcome was. In terms of the offer in the bottom of the funnel, we go to offer and negotiations, and obviously salary, start date, benefits, everything is negotiable. Different people, what we've learned, have very different needs. One thing that we encourage all of our clients to do, though, and encourage you, is to do a reference check. reference checks really matter. And reference checks, it's amazing some of the things that you can learn. Or you might be interviewing somebody and begin to see a behavior that you want to delve into to see how it really shows up in the day-to-day at work. Background checks, they matter too. And background checks, depending on what you have going on, if you have somebody who is driving, you want to make sure that you're checking their driving record. If you have somebody who is handling money, you want to determine their credit status to see how they're handling their own money. It's standard background checks that people go through is we want to validate your employment, where you have lived. We do classics so that we can make sure that the information that you're providing is accurate. And then, of course, in some jobs and for some companies, we do drug testing. So I've already talked about the onboarding for the first 90 days. Now, with recruitment and sourcing, what are some common resources that people use? Well, for professional positions, LinkedIn has become the #1 job board, #1 tool for finding talent. Other job boards that you have are Glassdoor and obviously Dice, depending on the talent. And Glassdoor is actually more of an aggregator of multiple different job boards. And there are automated tools for getting positions posted to those job boards and getting feeds into your applicant tracking system. You should also be posting on your company website. Many times people come to your company website and they're checking out what career opportunities there are, posting to your social media. Associations and groups are a great source for candidates, particularly in specific areas. Trade publications, we advertise in them, we post jobs in them. Newspapers, for certain positions, it might sound strange to say newspaper, but actually there are quite a few, if you're in construction, quite a few industries that newspapers are still an important source of candidates. Newsletters, and there are recruiting newsletters that you can participate in and do job posts, and it might cost you $200 or $300. Connect in with your universities. At universities are a great source if you're looking for college graduates within a certain area. Chat groups and blogs online. You can also do digital ads online, banner ads on niche sites that you know your prospective candidates go to. So that you're popping up, getting the brand awareness, and you are sending them to your website or wherever it is that you want them to apply. Internal postings matter, and looking for referrals. Now, looking for referrals matters with your employees, and having a referral program for employees, I can tell you a great source is your existing employees referring other talent in. Alumni networks, if you are a larger organization, everybody doesn't stay at one company forever, and as they change jobs and go to other places, keep the connections with them, and they'll refer people back. I can't tell you through my career how many alumni groups that I have gone to and had the opportunity to have time with people I used to work with, and I do get outreach on, do you know any candidates that might be good for us? Because leaving a job doesn't mean that I'm unhappy with that job. I'm just going to another opportunity. Of course, most companies, we do our own direct recruiting so that you're going to get out there and make sure that you have your systems. Sometimes you bring in agencies such as my organization, Eye to Eye, where we'll help you and step in and identify and place candidates. In some situations, you do job fairs. Job fairs matter. And believe it or not, depending on the position, you can get a lot of people coming in, but your advertising matters. Recruiting and marketing kind of go together. You really have to be out there in the marketplace. And don't forget government job boards. I will tell you that there are so many resources at a government level that we as business owners don't adequately take advantage of. And one of them for the state of Colorado is Colorado Talent Bound. So do a quick look up on Talent Bound and you will be so impressed with all the great free resources that can help you with your recruiting. Now, in terms of top sourcing channels, I want to share with you, and this is from Talent Now. This is a study that Talent Now did, and what are some of the top sourcing channels? Well, what are employers using today? 90% use job boards. And then almost 60% tie into LinkedIn. As I said, it is in a standalone the number one tool, particularly for professionals. Almost 36% do post to their own website, and 35% do have employee referral programs. And last but not least, we have 23% job candidate aggregators. Now, aggregators are actually, in layman's terms, they're actually job boards. It's just that they're aggregating from multiple different sources. So what you know here is that most employers use job boards, LinkedIn, their website, and referral programs. Now, when you're coming through with interviewing, we have some new trends that are occurring in interviewing. And what started the change in trends? Well, we have some core issues with traditional interviews. And what are they? One is we have the issue of assessing what are known as soft skills. And soft skills are becoming ever more important. How somebody interacts with another person, their communication, their awareness of the dynamics between people. Soft skills matter, and it matters in the fit for the organization. Understanding a candidate's weakness. This is also part of the reason that we do behavioral interviewing. Bias of the interviewers. Just because, I can't tell you how many times, just because you like somebody doesn't mean they can do the job. You need to be interviewing to understand, do they have the skills? And I can tell you, I remember years ago, I hired somebody in a product analyst position when I was in corporate. Fantastic person. Everybody really, really liked this person. They came on board. And what we missed in our interviewing process, it's a product analyst, and we didn't evaluate if they knew how to use the tools that they needed to know to do their job. And unfortunately, that candidate failed with us. The process is too long. And the other thing is not knowing the best questions to ask. And here's something that we typically do as employers. We'll have 4, 6 of our team members interviewing a new prospective team member, right? And what happens is we don't even have any consistency in questions. So when we get feedback from everybody after the process, we don't know what each person asked or understood. We just get their opinion. So there are some new tools that are coming out so that we can be more disciplined, more effective in our interviewing process, and balance a little more between qualitative and quantitative. So what are some of those tools? Here's some of the innovations that are occurring. Soft skill assessments are coming into vogue, and assessments are becoming ever more popular. And like I said earlier, I have some clients where we've put assessment tools in the process at the point that the candidate actually applies. Depending on the cost, you want to make sure that you're using your tools wisely. So often we put them towards the back end of the evaluation as we're bringing the candidate in on the funnel. We do the assessment after we've maybe narrowed it to 3 or 4 candidates. Another one that is becoming really popular for you to think about is job auditions. Have somebody come in, and this is one that we do in sales, give them a topic or direct them to your website and say, I'd like for you to come in and be prepared with a 3 or 4 page pitch and pitch me on my product. Let me know how you're going to set that up and experience it. You may have somebody come in and spend half a day with you. And you can get candidates to sign an NDA if that's necessary, but to kind of see them in action and see how they engage with people and as they meet people, because we show up real, and it gives them the opportunity to see more about you and your culture. Classically, we bring people into our organization to interview. Consider other locations. And one of the things I'm going to tell you, if you're interviewing a salesperson, take them to dinner. Don't just interview them for the day. Get them in settings that they're going to be in. And I can tell you, I had one instance where we were interviewing a salesperson, and they did end up taking that salesperson to dinner. And what they discovered is that salesperson was, here they were interviewing, they were in a setting that they were going to be in their job, and this person drank too much. So there are telltales. Put your candidates in different settings. Another thing that is happening is virtual reality, or what I call simulation assessments, like the tool Pensight. What's happening is you might not be able to bring them in or have them do a pitch on the job. What you can do is take the assessments to the next level. And virtual reality assessments are, like with Pensight, it puts somebody in a fictitious half-day setting as an executive where you come in and they get to see how you're engaging with everybody. You're sending emails. They actually have people who are serving as your boss, your colleagues. You do video calls. You really get to see the person in action. And then last but not least, we frequently get information online. We do phone interviews. There is nothing that beats eye to eye. Seeing somebody where you can look them in the eye and they can look you in the eye is significantly more telling. And if nothing else in your process, use video interviewing. You can use free Google Hangouts. Obviously, tools like Zoom that are minimal in cost, but there are so many free resources as well. So here are some useful interviewing innovations. Now, the other thing that is happening is we are looking for more and more and more data in our talent acquisition process. And this is showing you what is happening with how we're using the data and how we're pulling it in and why it's important. Data can help us increase our retention. It can also help us to evaluate skill gaps, which assessments give us that data. It helps us to build better offers if we understand better where that candidate is at. And it helps us to understand what they're looking for when we are trying to get that match. These are just a few, and you can read more here. It also helps us to improve our process. So consequently, we are moving in efficiency and for data and for performance to more and more automated techniques in recruiting. And here's a couple of additional ways that we are using them. We talk about artificial intelligence and using tools. I want to share with everybody, we talk about IoT and AI. AI, we already have in play with all of the different tools. Artificial intelligence is where we're putting logic in. It's like if, then. We have logic in the systems. The systems are doing a little bit of thinking for us and engaging with our candidates. So, for example, we may have an application that based on the answers to certain questions, we put candidates in different categories. Well, that's a form of AI in our process. When you are going out and you're doing searches and search engines, you've heard of the phrase filter bubble. What's happening is the system, Google, for example, or Bing, they present to us with results because they get to know us and they know our search patterns. That's a form of AI. It's just about building on logic, and it's not just processing. It's actually AI is giving us engagement and creating more and more efficiency in our processes. So here are the places that AI can be the most useful in coming through. Obviously, in sourcing candidates, screening them, and nurturing them. So depending on what you're using as your applicant tracking system, you want to look at the features that it has to help you with that. You can also use AI with scheduling. Again, that goes back to your applicant tracking system. I have some clients where we put bookings online. We might have candidates and we let the candidates go online and actually select when they want to have their screening interview. The other thing with AI in your applicant tracking system is it helps you with your drip campaigns and nurturing that talent. You can actually set up emails that go out at certain times, notifying clients, giving them a status, and you can pre-program those in so it doesn't require a person sitting at their desk and sending them. So tools absolutely matter. Here I'm just sharing a couple of the key recruiting trends that others are seeing at Deloitte. Josh Burson says video assessments of candidates will grow rapidly. And there are a lot of amazing video assessment tools that are out there. And that goes back to Pensight and more of the simulations. getting analytics. Analytical tools matter for the recruiters and us measuring things. And the other thing in your recruiting process that is on the rise, I just want to tell you a couple of trends that candidates are looking for. They do care about wellness policies, and they do care about working remotely. People don't want to spend 2 and 3 hours in a car driving anymore, which one of the beautiful things about that, if you are set up to work in other states, it gives you a talent pool that isn't just local. You can reach out and have talent in other locations, so it widens your talent pool. So what are some of the top recruiting priorities that businesses are facing today? No surprise, number one, sourcing candidates. We need more candidates. The other thing that we want to do is we're looking to identify those candidates, but we're looking to build our talent pool. And to do that, we need to really pay attention to our funnel and how we're managing that funnel. The other thing that does matter is we're looking for more and more speed. More and more of our clients are saying, I need the time from when we have the job to when we fill the position to be X number of days. And the reason for that is typically in a company, when we finally moved to do recruiting, we needed that position yesterday. So it's not the kind of thing that most organizations aren't in a place that they can say in so many months or whatever. We are chronically in an immediate situation. We identify new positions. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't do workforce planning and that we don't try to build our pool around positions that we know we're going to have a lot of. If you're an engineering firm, you know you're going to chronically need a certain type of engineers, right? We know we need people in finance to run a business. We know we need HR functions. We know. So it doesn't mean that we don't nurture, but typically by the time we pull the trigger on trying to find a candidate, the department is overwhelmed. They needed that candidate yesterday. So we try to squeeze the time frame from when we first have the job to how we go about filling it. Now, what's becoming ever more important in the recruiting process is your brand. How you show up online, the reputation you have, how people see you. Are you a cool company to work for? Are you a company that is going to treat your employees well? What's your environment? So establishing a strong employer brand is extremely important. And in terms of managing our workforce, and when we say recruiting, part of recruiting is understanding our talent needs. And to have a really good understanding on our talent needs, we also need to do succession planning. We need to understand of our current workforce, are we going to promote this person? Are we going to recruit this person, this position? So understanding and doing that workforce planning, the succession planning, is also becoming ever more important. Now, you might be wondering, what is the time to hire? I love these statistics. So overall, and AIHR is the source for this information, is what is the average time to hire? And this is the number of days from the moment a candidate is approached to the moment they accept the job. Number of days from when you first approach that candidate to when they accept that job, which means you've gone through the bottom of the funnel, you've done the evaluations, you've done all of the interviewing, etc. Right? So it's a fairly lengthy process. So in the U.S., the average is 24 days. UK and Ireland is also 24 days. The rest of Europe actually runs at 28 days, and the rest of the world is 26. And on this chart, you can see the differences by positions. Some positions move faster than others. For example, in healthcare in the U.S., it's actually 17 days. So look at that. And then in product management, it actually goes up to 32 days. So with that, what I want to say is this is our first session. I'm going to be coming back through, and I'm going to be sharing with you some tools and techniques on how you can go about doing your employer branding, how you can use some of the new sourcing and recruiting tools, how you take the best from all of the social media outlets that are out there to drive candidates and build your talent pool. And then I'm going to come back through and we're going to have some discussions about your ATS and how you set up your website and how you can automate and get more out of the bottom of your funnel. And I'm also going to be doing a session on behavioral interviewing. So with that, I want to say thank you for being with me today. And I'll see you on the internet. Remember, if you miss a show, you can find it at eye-to-eye-workforce/hire-results. We also air every Tuesday at 3 p.m. Mountain Time on Facebook /hire results. So have a great week, and we'll see you next week.